All right, I'd like to call to order the board meeting of the Indianapolis Library Board of Trustees. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Biederman.
Present.
Ms. Johnson.
Present.
Dr. Matada.
Present.
Dr. Palacio.
Present.
Dr. Riolo.
Present.
And Ms. Woodard.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you.
Point of order, I'd like to propose an adjustment to the agenda,
Sure.
moving item 6B to the beginning of the meeting so that we can take care of that business. Item 6B, please.
Okay, so item 6B is the public hearing on the 2026-2027 Irvington Branch renovation and multi-facility long-term capital maintenance and equipment update projects bond presentation. We have a motion to move that to the beginning of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call of the roll.
Yes, Mr. Biederman.
Approve?
Ms. Johnson.
Approved.
Dr. Matada.
Approved.
Dr. Palacio.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
And Ms. Woodard.
Approved.
All right, the motion's carried. Let's proceed with item 6B. Lolita, if you could come up and begin the presentation there.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Jeff Foxman and we need a third chair. Yes, please. Mom, could you pull that second chair? Sorry, I'm in charge of chairs. Oh, Brad's not here. Sorry.
Oh, Brad.
Oh. You have your choice of chairs.
Thank you.
Sorry, before you proceed, one last thing. So we have to adjourn the regular meeting and convene a public hearing right now. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call of the roll.
Yes, Mr. Biederman.
Approve?
Ms. Johnson.
Approved.
Dr. Matada.
Approved.
Dr. Palacio.
Approved.
Dr. Riolo.
Approved.
Ms. Woodard.
Approved.
All right, that is passed as well. We now have a public hearing. Welcome.
Thank you. These two gentlemen are here to discuss our 2026-2027 bond for the renovation of Irvington Branch. And I'm not for sure, did you want to start first, Jeff? Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Mr. President, members of the board, Jeff Qualkenbush with Barnes and Thornburg. This evening, we're convening the first of two public hearings as required by Indiana law in connection with any library project that's going to be repaid in whole or in part by bond issues that are paid from property taxes. This is very similar to what you all have done on many numerous occasions over the last couple of decades, as a matter of fact. And so tonight, we published the notice of this public hearing on June 12th in the local newspapers, and this will be the first public hearing. We will then have the second public hearing with this presentation again at your July 27th board meeting. At the conclusion of that public hearing, you will then consider a resolution known as a preliminary determination reimbursement resolution that would then, if approved by you all, make a preliminary determination to proceed with this project and the next steps according to that, with certain maximum financial parameters that will be presented by Mr. Tanzel this evening and again on July 27th. If you approve that resolution on the 27th, we would then publish a notice of that preliminary determination, and then we would wait for 30 days during a cooling off period to see if there's any additional community approval process requested by the community. So the project tonight is very similar in many ways to the ones that you've had in the past. This would be primarily renovating the Irvington Branch Public Library, and it would be renovated on a very similar scale to what you've done with your other branch renovations over the past several years. It will not necessarily add much in the way of square footage, if any, to that, but it will do a complete refresh of that entire system and facility, updating the HVAC, updating roofing. There are a lot of things behind the walls that will be done, as well as updating the technology capabilities at that building. There will also be authorized some additional improvements across the district that will be more miscellaneous in nature. And then finally, there are going to be some equipment and materials purchases that are in this bond issue of roughly $2 to $3 million. that would be allocated toward the expenditure for those types of materials and software licenses, ebooks, those sorts of things. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any question you may have regarding the process or the project. If you want any more detailed information about the project, we can have Mr. Parsons provide more of that to you at the July 27th meeting, but suffice it to say, it's very similar to your other projects that you've done, including the one most recently that you're embarked on as well.
Okay. Any questions before we move to Baker Tilly's financial analysis? Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Jason Tantle with Baker Tilly, and we represent the library as your municipal advisor. Now that we've had an opportunity to hear about the project scope and need, we will now review in the presentation before you how the library could pay for these projects through the issuance of a property tax supported bond in an amount not to exceed $19 million. We will be reviewing maximum parameters that would be within your resolutions on July 27th. And so we have that summarized on slide 4, but it's important to note that as we review these maximums, that the library has positioned itself to be able to repay these bonds with a 4-year term and not increase the debt service levy. So with that, you can see on slide 2, we have provided a graph of the 10 bonds that are currently outstanding of the library, and they are each represented in their own individual color. But really just want to draw your attention to the fact that annual payments in 2026 are roughly $21 million. That falls to under $19 million in 2027, and then all debt is repaid by 2030. So as these bonds come to maturity, the library has positioned itself to potentially replace these bonds if it so chooses without increasing its debt service levy. Slide 3 is a calculation of the library's general obligation bonding capacity. The bonds being considered here this evening are general obligation bonds, and there is a limitation as to how much we can issue. This limitation is 2% of 1/3 of the most recent net assessed value, which, as you can see, for the library is over $65 billion. And factoring in the other 10 general obligation bonds outstanding, that roughly $395 million is available to the library, but the $19 million fits well within this constraint. Slide 4 is a summary of the maximums that you would see within your resolutions on July 27th. Again, a maximum being established here this evening is a borrowing amount not to exceed $19 million. And we would anticipate $18,720,000 available for the Irvington Branch project after bond cost of issuance. The maximum repayment term is 6 years, but again, to here this evening, the proposed repayment term is actually 4. The 6 years is just to provide flexibility should something unforeseen happen in the market. Maximum annual payment is established at $13,610,000. This would provide for 2 years of levy neutrality if the library so chooses. And then you can see here on our bottom ratios and rates that currently the library debt service tax rate is 3.18 cents and the debt service levy is $20,711,000, and we are not anticipating any increases to this amount if assessed value remains constant. Our final slide is the graph of the proposed 4-year repayment term, where you could see the 10 bonds outlined in blue, the proposed 2026 bonds in red, and the dotted line representing the debt service levy, where again, the library has positioned itself to be able to maintain its debt service levy at $20,711,000, and all debt being repaid consistently with its other bonds outstanding by 2030. With that, I'd be happy to turn it back over to Ms. Campbell or answer any questions that the board has at this time.
Any questions from the board?
I have just one question. We are always making sure that we explain terms for the larger public as well. Can you say a little bit more about what is meant by a debt service levy, please?
Absolutely. The debt service levy is the request by the library of a dollar amount to repay the bonds that you see here on this graph. And so, as we mentioned, the annual payments are roughly $21 million. So the library is requesting $20,711,000 to repay those bonds in both 2026 and 2027. So it is specifically the dollar amount requested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Dr. Palacio.
Thanks. Thanks for the presentation. How was the net assessed value done? The 65 billion?
The 65 billion from the Marion County Assessor's Office just is annually updated based upon trending and the assessment of parcels specifically in a scheduled order.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for that part. Now we're going to move to public comment from the audience. So this is public comment in relation to this public hearing. The public comment for everything else we're going to do right after, just so everyone understands. But is there any public comment, anyone who wishes to address the public with regard to these particular bonds? All right, seeing none, I will ask to close the public hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call to the roll.
Yes, Ms. Johnson,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Yes. Approved.
Dr. Palacio,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo. Approved. Ms. Woodard,
Approved.
and Mr. Wiedemann.
Approved. The motion's carried. The public hearing's now adjourned, and we will reconvene our regular meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, see you next month. All right, just need a second to get reset here.
You're good.
Thank you.
Take your time. You're good.
All right, now the regular meeting. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ray Biederman, President of the Indianapolis Public Library's Board of Trustees. Welcome to the June Board of Trustees meeting, hosted tonight at the Fort Bend branch. We'll be hearing from a branch manager in a moment. If you visited one of our branches recently, you've no doubt been greeted by the playful energy of our summer reading program. This year's theme, Play Your Way, comes to life the moment you walk through the doors. Inspiring book displays, playful decorations, amusing activities, and welcoming spaces invite visitors of all ages to discover, create, and relax through reading and play. Fort Bend, for example, is a wonderful showcase of the fun and excitement that summer reading brings to our communities. Since our last meeting, we've successfully launched our 2025 summer reading program on May 30th, when our branches were transformed into neighborhood celebration destinations. Branches had fun activities with hands-on crafts or animal encounters, and even outside sidewalk chalk art, sandbox sculptures, and fire engine tours in parking lots. I'd like to also congratulate the staff and supporters of our Martindale Brightwood branch who celebrated 125 years of service to the community on May 30th. The branch has made an enduring impact for generations of Martindale Brightwood neighbors who have found learning and connection within our library. Now at week 3 of summer reading, our library community is working towards an ambitious goal, collectively reading for 22 million minutes. We encourage everyone, children, teens, and adults to register and join us in reaching this remarkable goal. After all, reading and taking time to play is not just for kids. We have a special opportunity this Saturday at Central Library with a day of play. This is a family-friendly event, and it's for all ages. It's a recess featuring live demonstrations of international games, a yo-yo champion, a free arcade, balloon sculpting, Lego activities, and more. Like everything in the Indianapolis Public Library does, a day of play is free and open to everyone, and will take place at Central Library this Saturday, June 27th. And speaking of Central Library, also since our last board meeting, my fellow board members and I had the pleasure of participating in the ribbon cutting for 2 extraordinary new spaces, Kid Central and Teen Central. These expanded and thoughtfully designed areas inspire new opportunities for learning, creativity, and belonging for young people in Indianapolis. I understand we'll have an opportunity later in the agenda to see a video highlighting these additions. However, I encourage you to please visit these beautiful new spaces yourself. Now let's learn more about our host branch, Fort Bend. I'd like to invite Ms. Shelby Peak, Fort Bend branch manager, to please step forward and share her report.
Good evening, President Biederman and members of the library board, as well as the members of the community and the city of Lawrence. Welcome to the Fort Bend branch, especially if this is your first time, and welcome back if this is not your first time. So I will do my best to keep things brief, but I have a lot of exciting things to share with you about our branch. So as most know, we are the newest branch in the Indianapolis Public Library system. So we are about to hit our third birthday. We are the youngins, but we are a team of 20 staff strong. I'm actually pleased to say that in our 3 years, we've been able to grow our staff. We originally started at 18 or 19, but since then we have added a page position as well as a part-time juvenile librarian position was just added this year. And I'm thrilled about that because it just opens up a lot of doors for us, not only to expand our juvenile services to meet the demands and needs of the community, but it also helps our adult team as well. Just that there's just more of us all hands on deck to make sure that we're trying to grow and include everyone at our busy branch. I also would like to take a moment. We have 15 active volunteers and an intern, and I want to say something special and recognize our very first volunteer for this branch. Her name is Lynn Watson, and we actually found out a few days ago that she passed away on June 12th. I want to talk a bit about Lynn because she dedicated over 1,000 hours of volunteer service to the library, not just here at the Fort Bend branch, but prior to that, she did also volunteer at Lawrence branch. So she was at Fort Bend twice a week and at Lawrence twice a week. So she dedicated a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of service to library staff. We really miss her. She actually received a Star Award in December of 2024 for excellent volunteer services. And I would like to thank Lynn's family as well for giving me permission so that way I can publicly share about how wonderful Lynn was. By doing over 1,000 hours of volunteer service, she actually is awarded a book tile that goes up in a branch of her choice. And we actually are, she wanted a book tile at both locations, at Fort Bend and Lawrence, and so we're going to make that happen. So thank you for letting me share about that. A little bit about the community that we serve. We are in the heart of the city of Lawrence, which if you're not very familiar with this area, Lawrence actually is an excluded city, one of the excluded cities in Indianapolis. And we have a wonderful local government that we get to work with in addition to our civic leaders in Indianapolis. And some congratulations is actually due because just announced today, the mayor of Lawrence and the city were selected by the Community Data Health Initiative as one of the 2026 top 12 African American Mayors Association cities to watch, which is a national recognition that honors cities that are advancing in environmental health, public health, and equity. We're really excited to hear that news, and we do a lot of good work with them. Some other statistics, there are more details in your packets, but we had almost 125,000 visitors last year, and I think we are projected to exceed that number this year. This is a very active and growing community. I'm sure you've noticed the apartments that they're building right next door. They're actually just announced another apartment complex that's going up across Lee Road. So there's still a lot of moving and growing and economic development here, and a lot of rich history. And one other thing I would like to highlight is in our physical circulation, we are the number one location in like the highest circs for children's world languages collection. And I think what kind of speaks to that is the City of Lawrence school system has a Spanish immersion program, and their students have to read several books a week in Spanish, and so our children's world languages collection is very well loved. And it is great. So let's see. Just some other things to paint a picture about this community. It's very multicultural. We have a very large Hispanic and Latino population, but you'll also see percentages of Haitian Creole and Korean as well in our area. In fact, the local restaurant that we provided for you today was some Jamaican cuisine from Double Lagoon. So you'll find a little bit of everything here. And we do have oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, well, thank them. They were amazing to work with. So with that in mind, we made sure to have an effort that we are providing as many bilingual programs as we feasibly can. So that includes bilingual story times and Spanish computer classes. And we also are just started this semester. We've been added to the group of library branches that provide Pathway to Literacy classes. So we're getting ready to do our next semester in the fall. Some other highlights. We renewed our Certified Autism Center status with IBCCCS in May 2025. So we are continuing to offer excellent inclusive customer service for our neurodiverse patrons and do weekly sensory-friendly story times on Thursdays during the school year. And then we also are just offering a safe, judgment-free space. And we're very excited about some new adult and teen offerings that I'm going to speak about in a minute. Also this year, will be our third year in a row working with AARP Foundation with providing free tax preparation for patrons. This year, 775 patrons were served. And our largest program this year so far has been our annual Model Train Show. We work with the National Model Railroad Association, Central Indiana Division. They come and they fill this room with model train exhibits. And then we had other activities and challenges for families, and they got to earn prizes and things like that. And so we had 480 families throughout the day. So it was an all-day thing. And the model trains are amazing and very popular. And we already have a date for next year, so it's coming back. I do want to mention, I want to give some special thanks at our summer reading kickoff. Lawrence Fire Department came with the fire truck, as well as our local ice cream shop, Moo and Lou Frozen Treats, and that made our kickoff super successful. And I want to give Moo and Lou's a special shout out because they did not charge anybody for any of their treats, so completely free to the library and to the public, and they didn't have to do that. And so I really appreciate that and wanted to acknowledge that. Here's just some other things. If you have any questions about anything, I'm happy to go into more detail. We try to have a MLIS intern every semester if we can. So far, our OSVR Volunteer Resources Department has been really great at matching us with folks. So pictured is actually our intern that we had for 2025 and 2026, Becky. And we do have an MLS intern this summer, Clem, who will be with us for a few more weeks before going back to school in the fall. This year we were also asked to become a polling site we did the primary election early voting this year, and we're going to be doing voting in the fall as well. they've been amazing to work with, and I've heard very positive things from the public about how that all went, as just being a nice and easy to get to place for folks to come out and vote. I would like to also say thank you to Corey Miner from the programming department, because the neurodiverse meetups were her vision. She approached us and was like, hey, I really want to do this program and for adults, and we didn't hesitate to agree to host and help plan it. So we do quarterly adult neurodiverse meetups. And what that is just like a low, like sensory way to just be social without having to follow typical social expectations. You're not in a loud restaurant. You're not. It's a quiet, more controlled space. There are activities, and you can participate as much or as little as you would like. And we also encourage attendees to bring their own hobbies. So we also encourage parallel play. So everyone could be doing their own thing at a different table, but still building community, still being involved. And those have gotten such a positive response, and we've had requests to make one for teens as well. So we're looking towards that for the future in the fall. I think the last thing I'll note on here is that we are a pilot location for our Library of Things, and and that has been, circulation has definitely started to pick up on that. So we're really excited and happy that we were selected to be part of the pilot program. So that is all I have. Are there any questions?
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? Yes, Dr. Riolo.
Thank you. I think that it speaks a lot to your leadership that you develop partnerships the way you do. I mean, free frozen treats it's you reaching out to them that they were so giving. So thank you for that. I should know the answer to this. How often does the certification for the Autism Center come around?
Sure. So the one that Fort Bend is under is currently 2 years. For the rest of the library branches, and I think will be grandfathered into their program, I believe it's, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Gregory, I think it's 4 years, a 4-year term now. So as we added more branches, it's structured a little bit differently than when it was just the one building.
And then for you to go up for recertification, is it as onerous a process as the first time?
No, we just had to retake the training.
Okay.
We didn't have to, they don't need to look at the building again or anything like that. So it's just maintaining your education.
Thanks for doing that.
First, I want to say that I'm always impressed when I attend the board meetings on all of the amazing program that happens. Everything you shared, it just resonated community. You talked about how you partnered with the mayor, how you partnered with the fire station, local restaurants. I think that's the beauty of Lawrence, and I think that's why I love it so much. So if I find some good housing, maybe I'll try to find my way over here. But
Yes.
I do. Speaking of growth, do you by any chance, and this may be a premature question, with the housing, with the apartments being built here, and you said there's new ones on the other side of the library as well?
They haven't started construction yet, but it has been announced.
Okay, and again, maybe premature, but do you know what that's going to do with your to your traffic at the library? Do you have any insight?
Not specifically. I anticipate personally that it's going to grow. We do have a pretty high door count, but we have a lot of folks that do live in walking distance and come here because they love that feature. And I do know that once we know, you know, who exactly is going to be managing these apartment complex, that we'll be reaching out and encouraging library card signups and
Okay,
tabling.
thank you for that. Yep, I just assumed that was the data. I was curious if you had that data yet, but
Yes,
that
still
does
a
make
little early
difference.
for that.
Yep,
But yeah.
sounds good.
Comments? No? All right. Oh, please.
Just want to say thank you for keeping this wonderful library. This is my home library, so I really enjoy coming in and working from here or checking things out or, you know, whatever I need to do. But I know you take good care of this branch, so I just want to say thanks personally and publicly.
Yeah, and thank you very much. We love seeing you and your family in here. So thanks, Dr. Palacio.
Right, well, thank Thank you very much for your presentation today. Okay, now we will proceed to public comment. My understanding is we have a couple. Ms. Gilbert, who do we have requesting public comment tonight?
First of all, we have Jim Perone, and he is with the mayor's office.
Great. So I have a statement that I read just before public comment starts. We welcome feedback from the public about our Indianapolis libraries, and this is a time when the public may address the library board. If there are several individuals representing the same group, please select a spokesperson. Please do not repeat the same comments someone else has offered. Please also note this public comment time is not the appropriate forum for commenting on matters related to employee charges, employee complaints, or alleged employee misconduct. Any such matters should be brought promptly to the attention of the CEO or the Talent and Development Department, where matters can be addressed in compliance with established library policies and procedures. A 5-minute limit will be allowed for each speaker. Each speaker should give their name and let us know if they're speaking on behalf of a group. All right, do we have the first speaker?
Mr. Perone?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, good evening. My name is Jim Perrin. I'm with the mayor's office here with the city of Lawrence, and we just simply wanted to say thank you for being here and welcome. Mayor Whitfield wanted to be here this evening, but she was not able to. She asked me to come just to say welcome to each of you, and myself as a proud and happy patron of this particular branch. And so, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we will have Mr. Torres, and then after Mr. Torres, we will have Dan Abdullah.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Last month, I asked about the process and the data you used for expanding pay grade 20, the CEO salary. That's resolution 19 to 2026. Since nothing prior to the meeting was shared or posted. When the resolution came up for a vote last month, President Biederman said the CEO salaries from 3 Ohio public libraries and municipal corporation CEO salaries were used to arrive at the figure of $270,000. It doesn't seem practical or realistic to use the CEO salary of our international airport, health and hospital corporation, or even Indigo. They employ more people and their budgets are way larger. The process used in previous system-wide compensation studies used peer library salaries to come up with comparable salaries for IndyPL. Those libraries were Columbus Metropolitan, St. Louis, Charlotte Mecklenburg, Salt Lake City, Denver, Multnomah County, Cincinnati Hamilton County, Cuyahoga, Seattle, King County, Louisville, Phoenix, Milwaukee, and Chicago. The average salary of those library amounts, the average CEO salary of those library amounts to $216,000. The average CEO salary of the 3 Ohio libraries, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cuyahoga, does not equal $270,000. It would be interesting to know if those CEOs have been in that position for more than 5 years. I am not here to say that the CEO does not deserve a salary raise, but the $60,000 or 30% increase has shocked us all. Staff shared what a $60,000 increase would mean to them, which I am compiling and hoping to share with you all. A staff member mentioned $60,000 would allow IndyPL to have separate librarians for reader services, for the nonprofit series, and for business. Those are 3 programs on top of librarian regular duties that take immense preparation and are well attended. This would also create another librarian level position that is not management. Just today, we submitted a 2027 salary increase proposal for the 300 plus union eligible staff we represent. We are expecting you all to be just as equitable to our frontline staff as you are on top of the CEO and staff who on top of serving the public deal with serious patron behavior issues daily, who have been stalked, who have been sexually harassed, who have been threatened, all the things the CEO, upper management are shielded from. Lastly, for years, the CEO would get the same raise that staff received. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danny Abdullah, and then we'll have Johnny Hall.
Going after Michael Torres is so difficult. Okay. My name is Danny Abdullah, and I'm a social worker, a trauma therapist, as well as a resident of the Far East Side. And I'm also a frequent patron of this library, Fort Bend. I've seen librarians at this library support the community. We just had this great presentation from Shelby of all of the things that this library, the library workers are doing for our community. Not just like children, but also the adults who frequent this space. You know, in the past, I've been able to have conversations with Shelby in which she was trying to make this library even more inviting and a welcoming place for people in the community with severe and chronic mental health conditions, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. Fort Bend is a dementia awareness space and was the first library in Indiana to become a certified autism center. And most important to me, the staff are able to be helpful and understanding to my 7-year-old and my 12-year-old who are children. I'll just put it that way. I say all this because it is the librarians in this library at Central, at all of the libraries, who keep the libraries going. Librarians are able to help us find what we need for research, for resources. They create programming that is inclusive to all of us. They teach us how to work technology. It is the workers who should be getting a 30% pay increase, not Greg Hill. I have never seen Greg Hill show up for any programming that is not a photo op. Hill's salary increase would amount to approximately over $60,000, an amount that many librarians, those doing the actual work, don't even make in a year. Meanwhile, staff have reported that they don't have air conditioning in staff areas. Central Library was closed for months, and the cost of living continues to skyrocket. What message does it send to the employees of the library that they can't even have air conditioning, but Greg Hill can get over $60,000 raise? That's ridiculous. Employee retention, morale, and financial well-being are critical to the organization's long-term success as well as the community's success. Where would we be without our librarians? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Johnny Hall, and then Lindsay Haddix.
Thank you, Board, for your time. Good evening. My name is Johnny Hall, and I'm a proud patron of the West Perry branch. I want to begin with an observation. Every dollar spent by the Indianapolis Public Library represents a choice about what we value, and a choice about what kind of institution we want to be, a choice about who benefits. That's why I'm here tonight, not because I believe that libraries should be leaderless, not because I oppose administration, not because I think Greg Hill is uniquely responsible for every challenge facing this institution. I am here because I believe the board has made the wrong choice. And more importantly, I believe it reveals a troubling set of priorities. The Indianapolis Public Library does not belong to Greg Hill. It does not belong to this board. It belongs to the public. It belongs to the communities that rely on it. It belongs to the children attending story time and events like the aforementioned summer reading program. It belongs to students doing homework. It belongs to the workers searching for jobs or learning a second, third, or fourth language. It belongs to the families who cannot afford to buy every book they want to read. It belongs to the people of Indianapolis. And when we spend public money, we should always ask a simple question: who benefits? Tonight, we are told that $60,000 raise for a CEO is necessary. Necessary for competitiveness, necessary for retention, necessary for leadership. But what I have not heard is what Indianapolis gains from that decision. Because every dollar directed upward is a dollar that cannot be directed outward. The same money that could support the workers who interact with the public every day. the librarians who help children discover a love of reading, the staff who assist job seekers, the employees who keep branches running, the workers who make the mission of this institution possible. The money could support professional development and tuition reimbursement. It could support expanded programming. It could support new resources. It could support communities that have historically been underserved. Instead, we are told the best use of those funds is increasing executive compensation. And this is where I struggle, because libraries are not supposed to think like corporations. Libraries are the one few institutions left in America that exist for the common good. Libraries are where we invest in people rather than profit. Libraries are where we recognize that knowledge belongs to everyone. Libraries are where public resources are transformed into public enrichment. This is why leadership in a library should look different from leadership in a corporation. A steward asks, what does the institution need from me? A corporate executive asks, what does the institution owe me? A steward sees resources as something held in trust. A steward understands that every dollar represents an opportunity to strengthen the public mission. A steward understands that leadership begins with service. What concerns me tonight is not simply the amount of money involved, it's the philosophy behind it. The assumption that when resources become available, executive compensation should rise before the benefits are shared more broadly throughout the institution. The assumption that leadership is best rewarded by concentrating resources at the top rather than investing them throughout the organization. The assumption that the public should simply trust that this is the best use of its money. I do not believe that. I believe Indianapolis deserves a library that prioritizes the many over the few. I believe Indianapolis deserves leadership that sees public money as a sacred trust. And I believe that when we have additional resources available, our first instinct should be to strengthen the institution as a whole rather than enrich the people at the top of it. Because ultimately, it's not Greg Hill's library. It's our library. It belongs to the people of Indianapolis. And the question before us tonight is not what Greg Hill deserves. The question is what Indianapolis deserves. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now we have Lindsay Haddock, and then we'll have Daisy Cook.
Good evening. My name's Lindsay Haddock. I'm the manager at the Wayne branch of Indianapolis Public Library. Tonight, I'm here representing the Staff Association Scholarship and Program Committee. Twice a year, we, as a scholarship committee, we choose recipients for a scholarship stipend for employees of the library. The recipients have to be a member of the staff association for at least 1 year and agree to serve on a committee or chair a committee after they finish their schooling. Recipients can get awarded scholarships for no more than 6 semester hours per applicant and calendar year. This semester, we had the following recipients of our award. Valerie Cobb, who is at my branch, she is a PSA and she works with teens and adults. We have Andrew Cope, who works at the Southport branch and he's the circulation supervisor there. Nick Greenberg, who works at Lawrence and is an library assistant too. Sydney Joseph, who works at the InfoZone branch as a PSA. And Faith Zettler, who is currently the West Region floater, but is soon taking on a new role at Central Library as a youth multimedia specialist. So we are happy to award, as you can see, our recipients are from all different jobs in the library, so we're happy that we get to support their scholarship. Committee members, we have a lot of committee members on this committee. Katrina Barnett, who's in CMSA. She's a team lead. Deb Arrett, who is a supervisor librarian at Wayne. Jenna Maddox, who is the manager at the Glendale branch. Peggy Ware, who is the Mid-Region Area Resource Manager. Rachel Wiesner, who is a public service librarian at Decatur. Sarah Woodruff, who is a public service librarian at Eagle, and me. So we work hard to try and make sure this scholarship is awarding for all, and we're working on trying to keep it viable for everyone and keep it going. So thank you for having me today. Thank you.
Okay, we have Daisy Cook, and then we'll have Lucas Lee.
Okay, hello. Good evening, guys. My name is Daisy. I'm an Indianapolis resident and a library lover. I go to the Central Library in the College Avenue branch. And I'm coming here tonight to voice my concerns about this proposed raise for CEO Greg Hill, a raise that stands higher than the median salary for a librarian, which is around $54,000. Now, a $60K raise seems alarmingly high, especially when compared to salaries and raises actual librarians and workers receive. So, why this amount? Well, according to a Mirror Indie article I had read, the board president, Ray Biederman, you were quoted to say we have to be a competitive workplace for people at that level. And during that board meeting, you mentioned the pay range was adjusted based on libraries in like Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus, Ohio. And then later on, you amended in the article that other libraries were also used for consideration, but those were, the three that came to mind. I do find it interesting that the libraries mentioned in the meeting were in Ohio. In case you guys didn't know, Ohio has one of the most heavily used and best funded public library systems in the U.S. They rank around number 1 in the nation for library circulation, so the amount of things that people are checking out. Number 2 for in-person visits per capita, and roughly 2/3 of all Ohioans hold a library card, ranking them the second amongst the nation. Now, these were based on the most recent data collections, which were from 2023, but the article from Ohio Capital Journal was from this year. We are making comparisons against one of the most top-performing states when it comes to libraries. Now, Indiana is pretty, we perform very well. From most of the numbers I saw, we were in the top, 15 for different statistics. But when we're performing well, it still doesn't even seem fair to really make wage comparisons to a state that receives state funding. Meanwhile, Indiana is locally funded, so it's based off of our property taxes. We don't get the same kind of money that Ohio gets. So I want to ask, why are we so willing to give tens of thousands of dollars to just one person? Why are these funds not being allocated for programs, further improvements to the library, or the workers who are boots on the ground, the ones who have to subject themselves to the public, whether it's, Michael Torres mentioned earlier, some people are berated, they have to deal with sexual harassment, people who actually have to deal with the brunt of things like this. What work has been done to merit such a raise? Was it the weeks-long closure of the Central Library to fix a broken glass panel? Was it the broken AC? There's an obvious pay gap for library workers and a lack of accountability and concern from the board on this, in my eyes. How can you look at this room and not recognize the problems at hand? I want to ask the board to reconsider this salary raise and consider the librarians and workers who do the hard work every day. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now we'll have Lucas Lee, and then we'll have Rissa Wilson.
Dr. Biederman. I think it's worth reading. I'm not a doctor. Oh, I thought somebody called you that earlier. Just wanted to get the proper title. Good evening. My name is Lucas Lee. I'm a veteran, historian, Indianapolis resident, and a patron of Central Branch, organizer with Answer, and I came here straight from my 10-hour shift to stand with the librarians and staff of Indianapolis. As a historian, my field would not exist without the diligent work of those in library studies field. Everyone in the liberal arts field honestly owes a debt to them, but that is just one aspect of why I have come tonight. As an organizer with Act Now to Stop War and End Racism, we have identified a major issue with this proposed pay raise for CEO Greg Hill. Aside from the fact that it is pure greed, and aside from the fact that the CEO is getting a raise personally more than my entire salary for a year, this proposed raise is a smaller act of aggression and a larger campaign to privatize public resources at the harm and expense of our most marginalized and oppressed communities in the city. Let me explain. In the most recent years, there has been in Indiana an all-out campaign to attack public resources like IPS. Many present may know that there is currently a drive to turn Indianapolis into a city where charter schools and private interest determines the fate of our public schools. The Indianapolis Public Libraries, a community education tool for the public, are also now being increasingly seen in this lens. Like schools, they are being seen as a potential target for privatization. Further attempts at this may come in the future, but we are already starting to see the signs. The proposed raise of Greg Hill is a sign of the roots of privatization spreading. Out of pure greed, this executive could receive $60,000 more per year. Are the workers receiving a 30% raise? Should they? What is at risk if this proposal goes through? We may see this greed emboldened. We will see more and more be taken away from not only the workers of these libraries, but the marginalized and oppressed people that regularly use the libraries and their resources. This erosion of resources, many of which our city's most oppressed people rely upon daily to engage with the world, will compound on the problems of a state and city already rife with rampant systemic racism. It will further subject our neighbors to a world that seeks to exploit them and oppress them for everything they are and everything they have. Herein, the board has a simple choice. Stand with the librarians and help make the library a true public resource for all, or vote for personal gain and satisfaction to make an existential problem for our communities worse. I implore you to choose the public good over the private gain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, and then we'll have Alexandra Chafin.
Is this on? Hello? Can y'all hear? Oh, so sorry. Hi, my name is Rissa Wilson. I'm a social worker. I'm an organizer, revolutionary, and a very, very long time library card holder. Grew up at the 42nd and College location. And I know that this branch, like many others across the city, cannot run without the essential staff that the board continues to silence and mistreat. The NDPL board and library CEO have a history of talking with their wallets, and these decisions continue to harm the many and benefit the few. As a lead organizer with Indianapolis Hope Packages, we're organized around a 10-point program inspired by the Black Panther Party, and our very first point is the right to a living wage. We assert and demand that everyone deserves a right to a living wage. And the CEO continuing to receive an annual raise while the library workers and staff are left with crumbs is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And this is the reality of how our community's essential public services and spaces can easily become run like corporations when the people's interests are smothered by the sound of cold, hard cash. Our libraries could not function without our librarians and our staff workers, and the NDPL board and CEO could not function without them. It is not the CEO that you see when you return your books. It is not the board members that are coming to assist you when you're looking for a certain title or author. It is not the CEO who is setting up the community resource rooms for the programs and workshops that were just happening right here in this literal room. It is not the CEO handing out prizes to the kids for reaching their summer reading goals. It's not the CEO reshelving the books and reading through the archives. These are all responsibilities and more carried out by our library workers, the ones who deserve the 30% pay increase and better working conditions. Again, everyone has a right to a living wage, and I urge the NDPL board to look around them right now and really consider the impact of their choices at a time when the prices of gas, food, and housing continue to rise. In what sense does it make for you not to consider your most essential people, your most dedicated workers, your library staff? And to my library workers, you have more power than you know, and the community stands with you. Your struggle is my struggle. I have worked in agencies where the CEO salaries are inflated and we are capped out and our work conditions are harsh. But please know that your labor power is worth more than you know, and do not be afraid to show this board that you won't be bullied and you won't be silenced. Thank you, and all power to y'all.
Okay, Alexandra, and then we'll have, looks like Morgan Stew.
Okay, directly into the microphone. Hi, I'm Alexandra. I am a resident of Lawrence since 2019. And as a resident of Lawrence, I have to say I'm quite used to watching money, resources, and benefits from my area leave and go elsewhere. As many of my tax dollars go to Lawrence PD, and then poof, they vanish, and they're spent in Fishers and Carmel. Growing up and still today, I believe the library to be an incredible resource, rich environment for people of all ages, but as an adult, I can see some of the flaws behind the scenes. From what I've read, the library workers' wage increase is no more than 3%. This is incredibly small increase amounting to literal pennies an hour. The library workers who spend their days here with us helping enrich our community, those are the people you and I interact with each week and the ones who are helping serve us, being with us, teaching us, and growing alongside us. In contrast, I read that the CEO, who was appointed and not selected by the people, is apparently about to get approved for a $60,000 salary increase, which is 30% increase, 10 times more than any of the library workers. 60,000 library dollars could go a long way to build up the Indianapolis libraries, all of which have funding issues, starting with increasing wages for those hardworking and dedicated workers. The library can only enrich the community or line the pockets of the wealthy, and everything else is being given to the wealthy right now. Gas prices are off the chain. Same grocery budget buys half the food now, and I refuse to sit idly by as every last penny flows out of the pocket of the working class families of Lawrence and into a small handful of wealthy individuals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Morgan is up next. And then we'll have Lindsay Holgrave.
Hi there, my name is Morgan Shu, and I am a worker at the Indianapolis Public Library Spades Park branch. As some of you may know, Spades Park is one of the last two Carnegie libraries in our system, and it hasn't really been renovated much besides the elevator. And that elevator has to be manually operated by member staff, which is like, well, okay, great. We have kids who come up in strollers all the time. People who are wheelchair users need the library staff to help them up into the building. And it doesn't really sound like much, but what you have to realize is that the building is so incredibly small. Our staff lounge is literally like a broom closet. The office is incredibly narrow. If we have things that we're working on, like weeding carts of books that are like dead or non-circulating, it gets incredibly claustrophobic. So when you consider like all the services that we offer, and then there's barely any room for the staff at Spades Park to kind of unwind, especially after very very unpleasant patron interactions. I've only been with the library for a year, and I've been fortunate not to be subjected to sexual harassment, groping, physical touch. But as of recently, we've had a number of hostile patron interactions. And when you're doing this type of work every day, where you're very passionate about helping the people who come in because you care about them. This stress eventually just like builds up, and you're not able to provide the level of services, the quality of care that you want to provide because these we have regulars who come in every day. We care about them, and then if we're not able to help them in the ways that they need, it hurts us. It hurts the reputation of the library, and it's just unsustainable. So I just question like where is this money coming from for a 30% CEO raise? Uh, Everywhere I go, I hear about the horror stories from my coworkers at other branches, just things that are happening on a day-to-day basis, even. And I'm just like, how is this happening at one of the last few third spaces for people to go to? You, we don't have people going to the mall anymore. Malls are dead. People are afraid to go to the park because, like, it's just um, the public has changed. The library is really one of the last few places you can go to that is like air conditioned, that is supposed to be safe, that like you're not expected to spend money at. These third spaces are disappearing, and we need to maintain a library that is safe and provides the services that people need. So having, any kind of like equitable raise would really help the workers, the frontline librarians, provide the care that our people need. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Lindsay, and then we have Riley Park after that.
Hello, I will be carrying out a comment from an employee who wishes to remain anonymous both in name and in branch. I would like to raise a concern regarding the proposed 30% increase to the CEO's salary, which amounts to approximately $60,000. At this very same time, many employees received raises of only about 3%, which do not keep up with the pace of the rising costs of housing, of groceries, transportation, and other basic necessities. Some staff members are struggling to make ends meet despite working full-time, and others are delaying retirement because they cannot afford to stop working. Because leadership compensation is a decision for the board, I ask that the board consider the message that this proposed salary increase sends to their employees. If the organization has the resources to provide a substantial increase for executive leadership, it should also consider whether compensation for staff is sufficient to provide a reasonable standard of living. Employee retention, morale, and financial well-being are critical to the organization's long-term success. I encourage the board to evaluate compensation more equitably across all levels of the organization and to prioritize meaningful wage growth for the employees who carry out its mission day in and day out. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll have Riley, and then we'll have Joe Warner.
I'll just get closer. Um, Good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Riley Park, and I am a doctoral student at UND and a resident on the south side. The closest branch to me is the Garfield Park branch. Today, I'm here to vehemently oppose the raising of CEO Greg Hill's salary. Mr. Hill has not shown the commitment or the progress made of a public library CEO to have that salary. The process in which he was hired into the position went against both the wishes of the workers and the community members. And also the process in which the library board had set up for a new CEO to be hired. Nichelle Hayes was clearly the people's choice, right? And yet, the majority of the public library board at the time decided against that. The money that should have gone to the workers in 2022, 2023, when the CEO search was happening, were paid to hire cops at board meetings to bully community members into silence. Moreover, library workers who come in and day out to do the work are paid significantly less than the CEO. Library workers have detailed unsafe working conditions and low pay in an era of rising living costs and inflation. The people who do the work day in and day out deserve the pay raise than Greg Hill. They have shown their commitment to the library system and the patrons, therefore, they should be able to have a living wage. I stand in solidarity with the library workers who deserve the pay raises, not Greg Hill, and sure as hell, not the cops who are in our public libraries. Thank you so much.
Okay, now, now we'll have Joe, and then we'll have Marissa Cohen after that.
Sorry, who's that? Angie?
I'm sorry, this is gonna be Joe Warner.
Okay.
And then we'll have Marissa Cohen after that.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Good evening, Mr. Biederman, members of the board. My name is Joseph Warner. I'm a community member. I'm not here on behalf of any other organization or group, just here on behalf of myself. I don't have a formal statement prepared, unlike some of my other community members, so I'll try to keep my comments brief and to the point. I've been a lifelong Indianapolis resident. I've been a lifelong library patron. Right now, the Lawrence branch is my home branch. I go there, gosh, at least once a week. I love the library. I'm there all the time. My comment tonight is about the proposed increase to the CEO's compensation. From my understanding, the reason the board has given for this proposed increase is that we want to maintain a competitive salary for this position. We want to maintain competitive compensation, and we want to maintain the retention of our CEO. And from my perspective, I've been going to this library, or the Indianapolis Public Library, for 30 years. I've been here the whole time, and quite frankly, if that is the mark that we need for our CEO to stay, if that is where we have to place our value in saying we don't have a CEO that is so driven by our mission or so driven by our love for the community that they'd be willing to stay without that raise, then I'd say let them quit. If we need to have that increase to compensation to stay competitive or to maintain retention, then I don't think that should be a priority for the board at this time. Thank you for listening to my comments, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Okay, now we'll have Marissa, and then we'll have Philip Green.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Marissa Cohen. I am an IndyPL staff worker. I have been served at Martindale Brightwood, and I am currently serving at the Pike branch. I will keep my statement short, but in the 3 years that I've worked in the system as a frontline circulation staff member, I have both witnessed and experienced traumas and stressors like verbal and sexual harassment, stalking, assault, both physical and sexual, overdosing, and shootings. These are not rare occurrences, I might add. Many are seen on a weekly, if not a daily basis. I've dealt with delays on maintenance of safe working environments. I am privy to know that multiple branches have issues with HVAC problems in the staff areas, which are deprioritized because we are told they are not public areas. Thus, they do not get the same priority as staff areas. I have witnessed a staff faint from heat stroke because we had inadequate HVAC. That is the only time that I saw intervention from maintenance. At the end of last year, we were told that the cost of living increases are not in the budget, and it has me wondering where the money for several raises for the CEO have come from. I do not have the luxury of having enough money for car repairs or for hospital bills or for other medical expenses. And I ask, if the board wants to focus so much on competitive rates for the CEO, what are competitive rates for staff? We have not heard that in a conversation. I consider what act the board's actions communicate about their values for staff well-being, as most of us, myself included, are working poverty-level wages. Currently, the library is represented by depleted and disenfranchised workers. And I'm sure the board is more than aware that the library is represented by our frontline staff, myself included, who cannot continue to adequately serve the community with the levels of strain occurring. And I ask, if the board wants to continue to retain top-level staff, they need to show competitive wage concerns for the staff and not merely the person at the top. Thank you for your time.
Okay, now we'll have Philip Green, and then we'll have Honesty Gilleaves.
Good evening. Thank you. I was a little kid at the Broad Ripple branch, and I enjoyed having a safe space there, and the service of the library workers always meant a lot to me. And I was a teenager growing up at the Lawrence branch, and the care of the library workers there always meant a lot to me. And now, I'm at the Central branch downtown, and the workers there, the workers all over the Indianapolis public library system deserve more than that 3%, and the $60,000 could easily go to improving all the branches. So for the love of books, for the love of the community, that's where the investment should be. Thank you.
Okay, we want Honesty, and then we'll have Stephen Lane.
Hello. My name is Honesty, and I'm a resident of Lawrence. And today I'm here to talk about just the fact that I disagree with the raises to the CEO's salary. So, as a society, we often speak about how libraries are deserving of our appreciation, if not reverence. They're much more than just institutions that provide access to books. They're summer hangouts for kids who want to explore fictional worlds. They're meetup spots for college students trying to keep their grades up and connect with their classmates. They're places where our elders can go to get out of the house and find conversation and community. As a college student and resident of Lawrence, I've come to this public library and others around Indianapolis many times myself to study and have meetings. I've watched children run through the doors and race to get a spot on the computers. I've seen teenagers hang around the sitting areas making conversation about what they're reading and what they plan to read next. We always say libraries are pillars of our communities, but if that's true, then surely our library workers deserve the same level of respect that we claim to place on the institutions themselves. Greg Hill, the anointed CEO of Indianapolis Public Libraries, who currently makes over $200,000 a year, is scheduled to receive a nearly 30% pay increase this year. Meanwhile, our public library workers, who currently make around $54,000 per year, are looking at 3% pay increases, which don't even keep up with the cost of inflation, let alone come close to that of Hill's. And it might be one thing if Hill was doing great work for our libraries. But instead, we have libraries that have too few staff, poor working conditions for the staff they do have, and branches that close for months at a time due to poor upkeep and a need for repairs. Surely the $60,000 going to Greg Hill could solve these problems, or at least go a long way towards helping them. The people of Indianapolis reject the corrupt library board that prioritizes Greg Hill's wealth over just the compensation of frontline workers who do the real work of making sure our libraries are safe, comfortable, accessible, and welcoming for the public. We stand with our library workers, including those in the workers' unions, in their demands for better compensation and adequate working conditions. That is the least of what they deserve. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll have Stephen and then we'll have Cecilia Gomez.
Happy Pride Month to everybody. Go jar. Wait, pause my time, please. Thank you. Yes. Thank you to John Barnes. Thank you. Reclaiming my time. Okay. So happy Pride Month. My name is Stephen Lane. I am a librarian, an archivist, a former worker at the Indianapolis Public Library, a member of ASME 3395, and treasurer of the Indiana Black Librarians Network, and a former board member of the Library Board of Trustees, serving from 2023 to 2024. I sat through the budget briefings. I saw the books. I'm not speculating, I'm testifying from a direct experience. I come with a clear ask that we table this increase for Greg Hill until an independent compensation review is conducted, publish the performance metrics used to justify this raise, and commit to matching the CEO's raise with a minimum of 5% cost of living increase for all frontline staff. Greg Hill is set to receive a 40% raise, which is roughly $60,000, more than many full-time library assistants earn in the entire year. Meanwhile, you are offering workers 3%. That means a staff member making $40,000 a year gets a $1,200 raise, while the CEO gets a bump that could cover the worker's rent for 18 months. If Greg is doing such a great job, then show us the metrics. If you can't, then great job is just a blank check with public money. The board majority is organized for Greg Hill and other executives, not for the staff who serve the community. When I served in the minority position, I watched as consultants like Anita Hardin wasted nearly $200,000 invoicing the library for learning how the library system worked. If this library had hired Nichelle Hayes, that money would never have been wasted. And let's talk about the extra policing at board meetings, paid with by our money, because community members came out in droves, just like they did tonight, to support Nichelle Hayes. The board refused to hire her, never justified why, and later handed the CEO job to Greg Hill, a man who never applied for the job, never interviewed for it, and had little reputation in the city. Now contrast that with Nichelle. As interim CEO, she worked tirelessly to find funds for a 5% pay increase for library workers, unmatched in library history. She understood the system from the ground up. She was respected across the city, and as a former union member, she knew pay increases should benefit the many on the front lines, not the few at the top. And during my board service, former President Hope Tribble and Greg both admitted their leadership style was transactional, meaning they don't lead unless there's a big benefit for them. Greg's benefit, new office furniture, and a 40% raise. Meanwhile, branches have worn out furniture, broken AC as summer approaches, and Central Library was closed for months over a broken window. Here is the truth. Library workers are the ones doing the real work, day in and day out, and they're the ones best fit to lead this institution. If this board majority is organized to benefit the few at the top, then the workers must organize themselves to get what is rightfully theirs. We only get what we're organized to take. Let me show you that you already have that power. Imagine every worker at Fort Bend Branch or Spades Park Branch suddenly got sick and couldn't come in. and the library closed. The whole community would notice immediately because they love and rely on that library and the staff. Now imagine CEO Greg Hill took a month-long vacation in Aruba. Who would notice? What would fall apart? Nothing. That is the impact library workers have. That is your power as a worker, and the library union is how you organize that power. Ask Me 3395 is in contract negotiations right now. Every dollar you give Greg Hill is a dollar you are signaling you won't give to workers in this cycle. The two are not unrelated. They are the same pot of money, and you are choosing who gets it. Our workers are struggling in this economy. Greg, who already earns more than enough, should be prioritizing their needs over his own. I would say his leadership isn't really transactional at all. Since workers do all the hard work and get little in return, I would call it the leadership style more parasitic. And parasites must be removed for the body to truly thrive. Imagine a library where the people who check out your books, run your story times, and keep your branches open can actually afford to live in this city they serve. That library is possible. It is not radical. It is fair. And it starts by saying no to this raise and yes to the people who are this library. The people of Indianapolis have the backs of library workers. We stand by their side until they receive the pay they deserve, and then
You've
some.
reached time.
All power to the library workers.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll have Cecilia, and then we'll have Derek Ford.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. My name's Cecilia. I'm a patron at the library. My local is Central Library. I'm here because I'd heard about the raise for the CEO, and it had been a minute since I went to my local library because of the window that got broken. And so I went, right, trying to figure out like what was so great that he was getting 30%. And I kind of wanted to share what I saw. So I went to my central library and I was greeted by the people at the info desk. And then it had been the first time that I had been there since the teen and the kids place was there. So I went up the stairs. I got to enjoy all like the families that were there. I saw grandparents who were taking their young child right through the library. And she's like, "Can we stay?" And they said, "Oh, we'll come back next week." I went to the teen center because I needed a book. I'm trying to keep up with my brother and read manga. So I was helped by a librarian there to find that book. And then I went up to the 5th floor for the beading section. That's like my new hobby. So I picked up like 5 books. I went down with all my books. And then I wanted to sign up for the reading program. And so I had 2 other library workers help me with that. And so I left, right, saving like $20.71 from the 7 books that I picked up with information on how to sign up for the summer reading program. And when I left the library, I was kind of reminded that it wasn't really Greg Hill that I felt most appreciative for, but it was the library workers and librarians who had helped me find all my things and had kind of made such a welcoming environment. And then I was reminded too, back when the library closed and I kind of stopped going because the window was broken, how in my entire neighborhood, because I live in St. Joseph's neighborhood, had felt that loss. Like for weeks, we were like, "Well, I can't get any books. Like I can't hang out at the library." The programming that they have there, I joined their Premiere Pro, like Adobe program, which is a really awesome program that the Central Library is putting on. But things like that were not available for that week. But it wasn't because Greg Hill wasn't clocked in. It was because the library workers and the library was shut. And so I think in this time where we're hearing so many testaments about what value library workers and librarians bring to that public space and the fact that negotiations are coming up for their contract, I don't think 3% is enough. I think that if we have $62,000 to give to anyone, spread it among the workers, meet the needs that they're bringing to the table today. Because as someone who goes to the library and loves it there, I think they deserve more. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll have Derek, and then we'll have William Wagner.
Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Dr. Derek Ford. It's quite an honor to be here without Hope Tribble. I can feel her absence honestly, I feel so comfortable. And without the cops lining the the walls behind us, and to see friendly faces. You know, Ray Biederman, last time I saw you, you got me a piece of pizza, and it was good. So, you know, none of this is personal, I want to say, first of all, right? This is about our city, our public. And so, you know, nothing should be read as a personal attack on any individual. You know, the people who screwed royally with not hiring Nichelle Hayes, most of them are gone. And it seems like the head of this library knows why the family treehouse books are in Spanish, so that's good. Pause. All right. So glad to hear that there are bilingual programs here. And, you know, let's be real, like $60,000 is not going to fix the public library system, right? I do think that one of the jobs of a leader is to fight for resources for their institution, right? At my university, where, you know, the same thing, the people who do the most work get paid the least. That includes professors. The people who get paid the most, you know, do the least work. You know, if you're in a position of leadership, you're supposed to fight for resources for your institution. And so I think that that is like, if, you know, that is a metric by which I would say, like, how much more money did you get for the library this year? You know, that's the metric. And I was looking up some, in particular, the executive director and CEO, which is language we shouldn't use for this, right? Because it's not a corporation, of the Cleveland Public Library, Felton Thomas Jr. Now, this is a renewal of his 5-year contract, right? $297,000. So he's already worked there for 5 years. He applied for the job. He was part of a national search. He wanted the job. He was interviewed for the job. And then, you know, he gets a 3.25% salary increase from the Board of Trustees, and it was negotiated with the renewal of his contract for another 5 years. So I think, you know, where we are looking at for the standards, and also considering that Hill didn't, I mean, he was anointed behind closed doors. I was at that meeting because there were, usually what happens in every single search process ever is that if the first person turns you down, you go to the second person. But what we got instead was a series of convoluted and contradictory lies about why they wouldn't hire Nichelle Hayes. And then they said, we're going to do another national search. And we said, no national search, just hire the second person. Don't waste more money. And then they said, okay, we won't do a national search. We'll just huddle up behind closed doors and anoint Greg Hill, who never indicated any interest in the position. So I'd also be curious to know whether or not these other library, let's call them directors, right? Leaders, applied for the position. Were they interviewed for it? You know, did they express at all any interest in the position? I think these are pertinent questions when we are considering, you know, like pay increases. The Central Indiana Library the Central Branch is my library, and it wasn't so much that it was closed, it was that I had no idea what the what the game plan was in between, right? You know, it was closed, and then I was like, okay, so what do I do now? Right? And that to me speaks of a lack of leadership, because, you know, if it if the Liberation Center that made people run on their volunteer time, if that's closed, there's immediately, you know, I know where I can, you know, get the service that I need, right? So, you know, and to echo, I think what Stephen Lane said it best, like, if the janitors didn't show up to work here for one day, we would all notice, and if, you know, the CEO didn't, we wouldn't notice. You know, it's the same thing at my university, and this is a problem where all of a sudden all these institutions are going to become so top heavy that they just crumble over, and there's nothing left to administer, right? So I would just like to echo, yeah, I stand with the library workers, and I think that, like, you know, if you're dedicated to the library, I think you'd be fine with, you know, freezing your wage for this year. If you add up the inflation over the last 3 years that the library workers have gotten, like 3% raises, basically they've gotten like 0.07% raise. So I think that, you know, fair is fair, right? And
Dr. Ford,
yeah,
we've
yeah.
hit the 5 minutes.
Thank you. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
I respect it. Thank you.
Okay, now we have William Wagner.
Hello, members of the board. My name is William Wagner. I'm a graduate student at IU Indy, and I'm a frequenter of the Nora and Michigan Road branches of the Indianapolis Public Library. I figured I'd just back up all of the qualitative analysis that you've heard tonight with some quantitative analysis, some numbers, if you will. Dr. Palacio, you asked me outside this branch, like why we were opposed to a $60,000 raise, proposed raise for CEO Greg Hill. And to extrapolate further, that comes in the context of a total increase, salary increase of $189,700 since 2021, which is 146% salary increase. And contrast that with the staff increase of just 16% since 2021. Meanwhile, inflation, the annual inflation rate since 2020 has been 4.2% year over year. So I guess since 2021, that's an annual inflation increase of prices, increase of prices of 24%, and the library workers' salaries have only increased by 16%. And the median income in Indianapolis is just $66,000. So you're basically proposing in 1 year to increase the CEO's salary by as much as the median Indianapolis worker makes in a single year. I'll keep it brief. I just want to implore you, the members of the board, that in an era of unchecked corporate greed, where the average CEO to worker salary ratio is like 280 to 1, you have the opportunity to show that the public sector is one of the last bastions where, the US believes that workers are as important, if not more important, than the executives that run these institutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Bitterman, that is our last speaker.
Okay. I don't usually make any comment after, but I wanted to thank everybody. It takes a lot of courage to come out here and talk to us. It's really meaningful, and your comments don't go unnoticed or undiscussed or unrepresented. So this is all, it's contrary to some of the comments, it's not zero sum, right? There's opportunity and discussion for a lot of things, and those are continuing, even as Mr. Torres talked about. So it doesn't go unnoticed what you guys say, and we really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys all coming out here today. It's very meaningful to see how passionate people are about the library and all the good things that the library is doing. So please know that. All right, continuing on to approval of minutes. We had a regular meeting on May 18th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting held May 18th, 2026?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call of roll.
Ms. Johnson,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Palacio,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo,
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Ms. Woodard,
Approved.
and Mr. Bitterman.
Approved. The motion's carried. All right, we'll move on to the Finance Committee. Lolita, welcome back. Is Ms. Rankin here with us today, or?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. She is on PTO. So,
Okay.
welcome to our monthly finance update. My presentation is going to be brief and high level. We'll review our organization financial performance up to May of 2026. Our year-to-date amount for revenue is $5,132,169. This is 9% of our overall budget. This is consistent as we have had in the previous years. Our, for the 5/12 of the month, it would be 42%, but again, like I said, it's 9%, and this is consistent. For the property taxes, as of June, which is not on here, we have received 18 million, so we will catch up and be right on spot for our budget. The printing, public printing, we received $40,000 in revenue. And then for the interest for this month of May, we received, sorry, I didn't bring my readers, but $96,000, $949. So this is consistent. The yield, the interest yield has been consistent month to month. It has decreased less than a 10%, but not much. So let's see. On this next slide, the one to the left is the revenue for the month. And the gray is the budget. And the blue is the May of 2026, and the orange is 2025. Our current month for this current year is a lot less, but as you can see on the gray, the budget is lower because this is consistent like from year to year. So we knew that we wouldn't receive as much revenue, but if you look at the blue, it's just a tad bit more than we budgeted for the month of 2026. If you look to the right, it's the year-to-date amount. And what I want to point out is the far right is the miscellaneous revenue, where in 2025 it seems the bar is much larger, and that is because we received a insurance reimbursement, medical insurance reimbursement, and that's due to discounts for our negotiation with our insurance provider. Everything else looks consistent for the revenue. You'll see a quite difference in the month of June and July when you see most of the property taxes come through. This is our expenditure slide, and here you'll see that we're 33%, which is under our budget amount of 42%, which makes it favorable because we're under budget. The percentage of each category is consistent month to month. That's about it that really stands out for this expenditure slide. And then on this slide, on the expenses for the month, the gray again is our budgeted amount. And as you can see, our spending expenses are much lower than the gray bar, which is good. Again, this is favorable. The personnel bar for the budget is a little bit higher, and what is included in the personnel is our medical insurance. And when we made our budget last year, we was in a negotiation part, and I was very conservative and budgeted like 8% more. But now we was able to get into to be fully self-insured, which receives that we pay all the claims for our insurance, and which brings a great discount for our staff. So that's one of the reasons why that budget is still kind of high, as well as we still have some open positions that we haven't filled. If you look to your right, the year-to-date amount, you can see that the budget amount, again, shows that for the personnel service is higher, and that we're up under budget. And our supplies, we're right on key with that, along with the capital outlays.
Any questions about Treasury report?
Just a comment, glad that we're under budget.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. All right. Is there a motion to accept the report of the treasurer for
So moved.
audit? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call of the roll.
Ms. Johnson,
Approved.
Dr. Matata,
Approved.
Dr. Palacio,
Approved.
Dr. Riolo. Approved. Ms. Woodard,
Approved.
and Mr. Biederman.
Approved. The motion's carried. All right.
Here's a few updates. We're currently completing our audit. We just have some minor revisions, and the presentation to the board should be like July or August board meeting. And then, of course, you know that we're going through the 2026 board bond funds for the Irvington renovations. And that's it for the
Thank you
update.
very much.
Thank you, Lolita, for your work with the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
All right, is that all for Finance Committee?
That's it for us.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to the DPHR Committee. Dr. Palacio, anything to report?
We don't have any resolutions this month, but we started discussions on other great topics that affect our staff.
Great,
Thank you.
okay. Looking forward to hearing more about that next month. Okay, Facilities Committee, Dr. Riolo.
Yes, we've got 3 resolutions today, and I asked Adam Parsons, who tries to give me a heart attack all the time because he's like outside and I have no idea if he's really here until it's time to come. So I'm always like, where is he? But of course he's here, always.
As the chair of the committee, you get to present those.
Oh, okay. I'll rely on him to do that.
Apologies for my absence in the room. All right, we do have 3 resolutions before us. The first one is Resolution 22-2026. This is approval to award a construction services contract for the East Washington Branch Concrete Steps Replacement Project. So the East Washington Branch is one of our 2 existing Carnegie branches. The concrete front steps have been there for quite a while, but they have reached the end of their useful life. Repairs have been made several times over the past many decades, but they are not a viable option at this point, so we need a direct replacement. So this was a standard invitation to quote. The work was estimated to be less than $150,000. We sent it directly to 6 vendors, 2 of which were XBEs. We posted it on the website, and we held a pre-quote conference with 0 attendees. So again, it was an ITQ. We received 1 quote. The lowest responsive and responsible, should be quoter, is Mattingly Concrete out of Carmel. So they quoted $74,962.30, which is below the project estimate of $100,000. The entire project, railings are not included in the concrete portion. Railings are estimated to cost between an additional $10,000 and $15,000, so the entire project should come under budget. And this will be funded through Bond Fund 488. As I mentioned, Mattingly is based in Carmel. They're city certified, DOBE, and will perform 100% of the work.
This did receive approval from the committee to bring to the entire board.
Great. So Resolution 22-2026 regarding approval of a construction services contract for the East Washington Branch Concrete Steps Replacement Project received a positive recommendation from the Facilities Committee, so the chair would request a second to such recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to raise one thing that came up in committee. I was a little concerned that there was only 1 quote, but it was understood that there was limited interest because it requires a lot of securing information and approval from the city, and it was not a very large project for a lot of companies, so it seemed reasonable that this was the only bid that we had.
Great. And can you explain what a DOBE is?
A disabled-owned business enterprise.
Got it.
It's one of our 4 categories of XBE vendors.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Please.
Just one additional comment. I do want to put on record that we did talk about the downtime as well. We wanted to minimize the impact. And so I think there is discussion to ensure that the downtime or impact to hours of operation will be reviewed carefully. So
Yes. Spoken to Mattingly about their overall schedule. We're looking for right after Labor Day. So definitely after summer reading, definitely once schools have started, minimizing impacts to access to the branch period, but definitely after peak usage if there is any downtime.
Excellent. Any other questions? Dr. Palacio.
I'm not as familiar with that branch as I should be,
Mm-hmm.
but is that the only access point, or is there,
No.
what's the effect, and is there going to be a closure? Is there going to be other access points?
There is an elevator that has exterior access similar to Spades Park. both Carnegies needed to be upgraded to have elevator access. So we will be using exclusively the elevator to get in and out. We've reviewed the elevator. We'll have it, any maintenance done, make sure it's in good working order, absolutely, before any work starts. We did discuss the possibility of using the staff entrance around the back. The logistics and also the safety and security of that just did not work out. They don't have the RFID gates, etc. So elevator access only, with a backup if something were to happen, with the backup of the staff entrance.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call for roll.
Ms. Johnson?
Approved.
Dr. Matata?
Approved.
Dr. Palacio?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Ms. Woodard?
Approved.
And Mr. Biederman?
Approved, the motion's carried.
All right. The next resolution is approval to award a purchase order for the Eagle Branch Early Literacy Furniture Project. So our programming and development area is piloting a project about the impact of physical interaction, physical play on early literacy in some of our youngest patrons. 2 sites were chosen: Eagle Branch on the west side and East 38th Street on the east side. Selected furniture was manufactured by TMC, which we have used before. They're not a vendor, a direct vendor, but they are quality manufacturer of these particular items. Notice was sent to 17 vendors, 3 of whom are XPEs. This is a standard invitation to quote. We also put it on the website. We held a pre-quote conference, and 1 vendor did attend that. So again, ITQ, lowest responsive and responsible quoter was commercial office environments. So the awarded cost of $58,356.12 was significantly less than the $100,000 for this branch, and this will be funded via Bond Fund 489. Commercial Office Environment, COE, is based in Indianapolis. They are city certified WBE, and they will provide 100% of the work. Not only is this just a sale of a product, but it also involves delivery, installation, making sure that the product is delivered and assembled properly.
Okay, this one did receive favorable recommendation from committee and suggested it go forward to the full board for approval.
Great. Resolution 23-2026 regarding the approval of a purchase order for early literacy furniture at Eagle Branch project received a positive recommendation from the Facilities Committee, so the chair would request a second to such recommendation.
Second.
All right, been recommended and seconded. Any discussion? Yes?
Yes, I would just like if you could explain for the public what WEB, what that resembles for the
Sure.
vendor.
That is a woman-owned business enterprise, so it's another one of the 4.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions, please?
Not a question, just a comment. I'm very glad that we are finally getting some new furniture in some places, because that's what some of the public comments were about as well. How do we make sure that our libraries have the kind of furniture that's well-deserved at all of the branches? And I'm glad that that is being approved, and it's long overdue.
All right, thank you. Any other? All right, hearing none, we'll have a call to the roll.
Ms. Johnson?
Approved.
Dr. Matata?
Approved.
Dr. Palacio?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Ms. Woodard?
Approved.
And Mr. Biederman?
Approved. The motion's carried.
Right. The final resolution is approval to award a services contract for the Michigan Road, Southport, and Warren Branch Furniture, Fixtures, and Equipment Replacement Project, so FF&E. So every year, we plan to replace the patron furniture for 2 to 4 branches. That's approximately a 10-year cycle for patron-facing furniture before it starts breaking down and has basically reached its end of life. The three branches we chose were Michigan Road, Southport, and Warren branches. Those dates, Michigan Road was a new branch that opened in 2018, which is only 8 years old. However, with the Norrin Pike closures, they saw a mass influx of patrons, so that furniture has aged to about 10 years. Southport and Warren have reached 10 years proper. We sent out a public notice. This was expected to be above $150,000, so this was an invitation to bid, which required a public notice in the weeks of April and May. Notice was sent directly to 12 vendors and business development organizations, 3 of whom were XBE vendors. It was also posted on the NDPL website, and the bid documents were available at Repro Graphics. And they send out to their own list. So again, invitation to bid process. We received 4 bids, which was great. Again, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder was RJE Interiors. So the total awarded cost of $251,272.23 is below the project estimate of $300,000, which is fantastic. This also does include delivery, assembly, and make sure that everything is installed properly. And this will be funded out of Bond Fund 490. RJE is based in Indianapolis. They are also a city certified WBE and will self-perform 100% of the work.
This recommendation did come out of committee favorably and suggests full approval from the board.
Excellent. Resolution 24-2026 regarding the approval of a purchase order for the Michigan Road Branch, Southport Branch, and Warren Branch Furniture Refresh Project received a positive recommendation from the Facilities Committee, so the chair would request a second to such recommendation.
Second.
It's been recommended and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call to the roll.
Ms. Johnson?
Approved.
Dr. Machado?
Approved.
Dr. Palacio?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Ms. Woodard?
Approved.
And Mr. Biederman?
Approved. The motion is carried.
That's all we've got.
All right.
Anything else?
Thank
I have a question. To whom do I thank for this little cute little package? Committee? Well, thank you to them. Okay, then, okay, great. I will do that. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Adam. All right, now we're moving on to the next agenda item, which is the Library Foundation update.
Yes, this is my monthly opportunity to just highlight how wonderful our staff is over at the foundation. This past month, the Library Foundation staff attended an International Public Library fundraising conference where not only did they get to network with and learn from other foundation staff, they actually led a session on strategic planning. So they represented us quite well at an international stage. Also, remember Circulate Night at the library. If you have your tickets, yay. If you do not, go to the website and purchase them now. They support the foundation and all of the programming that we get to offer through all our branches to our patrons. The foundation thanks 216 donors who made gifts this past month. And some of the top corporate foundation donors include American Honda Motor Company, Apex Benefit Group, Eli Lilly and Company Foundation, RJE Business Interiors, and the Glick Family Foundation. And this past month, the foundation provided more than $80,000 to the library to support some initiatives including book club kits, East 38th Street Zine Collection, and Fall Fest. So we are very fortunate to have a very active foundation.
All right, thank you to the foundation.
They rock. They rock. Very active.
Okay, moving on to the report of the CEO, Mr. Hill.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Board President, Indianapolis Public Library Board of Trustees. The first thing I have is the confirmatory resolution 25-2026 related to financial, travel, and personal matters that occurs between each board member. The resolution is in its typical format, and I would ask for your approval of resolution 25-2026.
All right, is there a motion to approve resolution 25-2026 regarding finances, personnel, and travel?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The resolution 25-2026 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a call of the roll.
Ms. Johnson?
Approved.
Dr. Machado?
No.
Dr. Palacio?
Approved.
Dr. Riolo?
Approved.
Ms. Woodard?
Approved.
And Mr. Biederman?
Approved. The motion's carried.
All right, the next item on the agenda is going to cover the month of May. We'll talk about engagement data. We'll do a 90 seconds of impact. We'll do growth strategy. We'll recognize staff, upcoming events, and the Chief Strategy and Analytics Officer, Ms. Miriam McKenzie, will give a strategic plan development update for the 2028-2030 plan. First thing is the output measurements. Key data points. For visitors, we had 197,660 visitors. That was down about 3% from May of 2025, but it was our second highest month in the past 4 months. The top visited branches included Glendale, Fort Bend, and the Southport branch. Circulation, 3.5% decrease from May 2025, an increase of about 2.5% from last month. Our top circulating branches included Glendale, Franklin Road, and the Lawrence branch. Public PCs, about a 2% decrease from May of 2025, but a 1% increase from last year. That equates to 1 in 6 visitors who used a PC, or about 16% of our visitors. 58% of our programming was youth-centered, 33% was for adults, 9% was all ages. Roughly 1 in 10 visitors participated in the program. That shows some healthy attachment, broad inclusive service, and a variety of programs. Some key engagement metrics. First was the Martindale Brightwood 125th anniversary. I want to say thank you to Teresa Coleman and Jessica Rinker. They did an amazing job with the 125th anniversary. It brought a lot of members of the community. They came in and had a chance to talk as well. We had quite a few of our former managers or supervisors at the branch who had a chance to speak as well. And I also want to thank the board members who attended the 125th anniversary. Next item is the Center for Black Literature Culture, the Book Fest and Juneteenth celebration. The theme was Empowered to Speak, Freedom Dreams. Our featured author was Tomi Adeyemi. She was amazing. It took place from 10 a.m. to 1:30 was the actual book fest. And then the headliner again was Miss Adeyemi. She was the author of Children of Blood and Bone, and she headlined the celebration. She was very interactive, had a chance to let some of the patrons ask questions, and I really appreciated how she, instead of having a staff member read the question from the card, the staff member was able, or the patron was able to take the microphone, give their name, and she was into zodiac signs, so they got a chance to say their zodiac sign, and we really appreciate Miss Adeyemi. She was amazing. There were some activities that was included with that as well, which was some drop-in children's activities, music, and a 360-degree photo booth. Next was Kid and Teen Central. Thanks for everyone who came out, and a special thank you to Chris Hawksett, who is the manager of Kid and Teen Central, and Liz Shutley for their work, and also thank you to Operational Services. Adam, thank you for your work, and thanks to Diane for her work as well. It was amazing, great turnout. And with that, I want to show just a brief video that's about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Today we celebrate not just a beautifully renovated space, we celebrate an investment in our community and in the children, families, and caregivers who will learn and discover here for many years to come.
Kids Central now spans the entire 3rd floor of Central Library. Every child who walks through these doors will find something that sparks their imagination.
So my favorite is like sitting at the desk and just watching kids come in and they're literally like, like just that like gasp of like awe and like splendor and excitement. We're just really excited to get to use the new space to spend time in our community and to enjoy the programs the library offers.
3, 2, 1. Kid Central is officially open. But we're not finished yet because we still have Teen Central to open. The space was shaped by teen input and designed to reflect how young people learn, create, and connect.
The teenage years are a time of discovery. We want them to know they are welcomed here.
It gives them a place where they can be themselves.
Teen Central is officially open.
So again, that was a really great event, and I want to say over the past, 30 days or so, the events that we've held, we've had a lot of community engagement, a lot of participation from the board members coming out to these events. So again, I greatly appreciate that. And then the last one on the list here is the Heart of Every Neighborhood. Lawrence Branch was the third stop so far this year. We have 2 remaining left for the year, which is Hallville in August and then Southport in September. I want to thank Monica Taboda. She is the manager of the Lawrence Branch. She did a really amazing job of having our community partners and really promoting the event. We had a really good turnout, so thank you to everyone who came out. We also was able to do one of the main purposes of the event is get testimonials from some of our patrons about what the library means to them. So we were able to get quite a few of those testimonials, so we appreciate that again as well. The next thing I want to talk about is this is the 90-second story. It's one story. It impacts multiple lives, and it has a lasting impact. And it's a human-centered storytelling. Human-centered storytelling is a narrative framework that places real people, their lives, and their experiences and their emotional journeys. And it also focuses on the human stakes, the motivation, and the obstacles that a person may face. This is a story that came from one of the branches, and again, it'll just be a quick, brief story. The first thing, the situation, a family with young children experiencing homelessness was living in a tent in a flood-borne area near the branch. The staff recognized that, made contact with them. Staff action, staff approached the family and ensured that they were safe, that they were welcome inside the branch during operating hours, and the staff were able to connect them to food resources, including community garden and food as well. The outcome, over time, the family secured stable housing, they secured employment and education for their children. They were enrolled in school. They are now thriving and remain actively connected to the library. And then the board level meeting is consistent access to safe space, food, and trusted relationships. That allowed the family to stabilize and pursue long-term solutions. Library staff and partnerships accelerated that progress and demonstrated community impact. Again, I want to say thank you to the branch and the meaning of making sure that we have meaningful partnerships. That way, when we have families or individuals in need, that the branches are able to take care of that. So congratulations and thank you to the branch for submitting this story. The next thing is a growth strategy or our goals for Q3. The first one is a customer service philosophy. It is a clearly articulated customer service philosophy that establishes a shared foundation for how all of our staff will engage with patrons. And this is basically our exceptional experiences portion of our values. This is the foundation, how staff will greet our patrons, how they will solve problems and make patrons feel welcome and valued. And John Helling, the Chief Public Services Officer, is managing this project. The second one is the front door experiences. The physical entry experience is often the patron's first and most lasting impression of the library. So with this project, what we want to do is we're going around and one of the staff members of the Marketing Communications Department, he went around and took photos of every single door. We found out that we did have 3 different entryways, and we just want to make sure that our messaging is consistent and people know what services we provide. Mary Barr, our Chief Communications and Marketing Officer, is the project manager for that. And then the last one is Library Card Day. This is an activation event. We want to turn our non-patrons into card holders and then our casual visitors into engaged community members. This project is being managed by Kim Ewers, our Access, Belonging, and Culture Officer, and Deb Lambert, our Chief Collections Management Officer. Again, Library Day, Card Day is going to be in September towards the end of the month for 3 days. All branches will be involved. There will be some community work, and mostly it's when we get the patrons to come in to make sure that they understand the services that we provide, how to use the Libby app, how holds work, and that type of information. Again, these are all independent of each other. They do form a pipeline, which is Library Card Day brings them in. The front door experiences make them feel it, and then the customer service philosophy keeps our patrons coming back. And then next is staff recognition. These are our staff members who were recognized by their peers for the month of May. Patron services is Micaiah Winkle from Beech Grove, Streska Nathaniel from Glendale. Community involvement was Kat Hill from the Children's Museum and Sydney Joseph from the Children's Museum. Next was Page Excellence is Dallas Delaney from right here at Fort Bend. Volunteer and Partnerships was Richard Lopez Electrical, and the committee's choice is Amber Scott, who is a bookmobile driver for operational services. So big round of applause for our staff. And some upcoming events we have is the low impact exercise. And I wanted to emphasize this because this is really a huge program for the adult population. So that's going to be taking place on Thursday, June 25th. And then President Biederman mentioned the day of play in his opening, but the ARMS wanted me to make sure that we mention this repeatedly. Day of play is going to be on Saturday, June 27th. It's the first time that they've done this. So we're really looking forward to having families come out and take advantage of that. And then on July 1st, there's the 6th annual Black Photography exhibit at Central. And I believe that runs from July the 1st to August the 1st. And then the reception is going to be on July 7th from 5:30 to 7:45 in the Simon Reading Room. And also right here at Fort Bend, they have free notary services that will be Saturday, July 11th from 11 to 1 p.m. And then lastly, the Indie Cinema Series in Central Library, they will be showing Buffalo 66 on Tuesday, July 31st. That concludes the information that's included in your PowerPoint, but there is additional information for the previous 30 days that's in your board packet, and I am open for any questions that you may have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Hill? Please.
I was wondering if you have any sense of the presence of IndiePL at ALA this coming week in Chicago? Do you?
I don't know exactly
Okay.
how many people we have going right now, but Brad just raised his hand. He's going in the back, but I can make sure that I can provide those numbers to you. I don't know the exact count.
Thanks.
Not a comment, but a question. I think it's always so good to thank our communications team. I was at 3 of the different events. Mary and Katie and the whole communications team have done a tremendous job. At Lawrence, you know, at the opening of the centers, I mean, it's just amazing. And the opportunity to thank them along with the other staff who are just incredibly important, as you pointed out in that very first goal, really does make a difference. But Katie, you work hard to greet us when we get there. Mary, you make sure we have every sign that we can take out the door with us. I'm very hopeful that we can continue to be appreciative of the communication because it makes a difference. Community and communication, it makes all the difference. I also want to thank you, Greg, for taking out making sure that we have a story that captures the situation, the staff action, the outcome, and what does it mean for the board as well. When you broke it down that way, it just says a lot about how important it is. And just as we heard from all of the comments from the staff, how important the staff engagement is. And when you brought that out, it was like it just underlined all the comments that were made earlier today, that our staff make all the difference to everything. They make up this institution. So thank you for sharing it and breaking it down as situation, staff action, outcome. I'd like to ask Mary, as you're looking at the entrances, how are you thinking about the differences in the ways those entrances are? Because I go to several of the branches regularly, and the Hallville branch entrance just ain't happening. It looks so different from some of the others. What's your thinking there?
The goal of the project is just knowing that it is a first impression.
Mm.
And so we did audit all the branch locations, and we are trying to organize first that people know where they are.
Yes.
Branding that it's the library, the hours, and then triaging welcoming messages. For example, Fort Bend, as you know, is autistic certified, so making sure that those are all labeled pretty clearly, as well as I'll call them the rules, et cetera. No smoking, et cetera. So just trying to have some consistency with that at all of our locations. So more to come on that.
Thank you again. Thank you so very much. Makes a difference. Thank you, Greg.
Any other comments? Yep, Dr. Palacio.
I was just curious about the indie cinema. Is that something new or?
I'll let Liz answer that, but I don't think it's something new. I think they've been doing indie cinema for a minute.
Yeah, the Indie Cinema series is run by one of our librarians at Central, and he's just interested in film and cinema, so he runs it.
Series, like how does it work?
Pardon me?
What dates?
It's usually on a Sunday. I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but I will be happy to get them to you. And so, yeah, he picks movies. He has a lot of knowledge. It's just an interest of his. So,
Is it throughout the year?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's
You're
good to know.
You're welcome.
And before we move on, if we could, I just want to say, Dr. Batata, thank you for your question. I do want to say, Mary Barr, Katie, the rest of the communications team, you guys do amazing work. And I know I ask a lot of you sometimes, so I know you probably want to say, hey, Greg, quit asking. But you guys do amazing work, and I truly, truly appreciate it. It's since the last couple of years, you guys have made a really big difference in how the library is portrayed and what people see as that. So again, thank you. And then also, Dr. Matata, thank you for your words about staff and the human-centered story. Staff do amazing work. You know, I hear stories, and I get stories all the time, how staff make meaningful contributions to our patrons that come in. And I try to make sure that I recognize people on a regular basis. So thank you for that, and thank you to the staff sincerely for all the work that you do.
You got another? You're only allowed
Maybe
one.
a point of privilege or but I do want to commend leadership for how they handle the broken window at Central. I went there when it was closed. I checked it. I did ask Adam Parson to speed it up or open partially or something. So thanks for entertaining my comments on that. But I think we all agree that safety is most important. We don't want to have patrons and staff in a place that is not deemed safe. You know, we didn't know structurally if the whole library was settling in a different way, if the glass was, if another glass was going to break, and all that kind of stuff. So as an engineer, I understand safety is a top priority for any engineer. So just want to make that clear. I know there were frustrations about the closure, but luckily and thankfully nobody got hurt. And I think that's the message today, that we handle it in a safe way. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Dr. Rill.
Piggyback on that, I think that back to communications, having done such a good job explaining to everyone what was happening, they can still pick up their books. This is how to do that. These are the things that have programs that have had to change dates or place, and I think that communication was really strong to tell people this is what's happening along the way, with a little bit of humor.
All right, great. Have we broken that glass? That's a bad joke. You're right.
Bad joke.
Bad joke. Sorry. Not all of them are home runs. Some of them are singles. Yeah.
All right, and
Please.
if we want to continue on, Ms. Mary Ann McKenzie, our Chief Strategy and Analytics Officer, will give a strategic plan update for the coming strategic plan.
I think she should be on first. I love to go last, Everybody's minds are open and ready for more information. I have a long presentation per usual. What I actually need to present to you is relatively short. When it comes to the board, one of your responsibilities per Indiana State Code is what they call a long-range plan of service. That long-range plan of service can be from 3 to 5 years, and there are some requirements about what must be contained in it. We are currently under a 3-year plan and are about halfway through it, which means it's a great time to start thinking about the next plan. I know that's going to seem fast, and it is a little bit faster than we've done in the past, but what we're trying to do is to time our communication and our planning about this so that it aligns better with decisions about the library's budget and our programming, so that we have a plan in place before those begin for the year the plan launches, which would be 2028. So essentially, our goal is to try and have the big pieces of the plan in place by August of next year. So it's soon. If we need time to discuss, we have some wiggle room there, but the ultimate ask is that we try and have this one planned out a little sooner than we have in the past, just to make sure we can have the full force of all of our resources behind it when we launch it. Now, in terms of what we're being asked to do, I changed the diagram because I figured everyone loves a little variety, but the structure is essentially the same as what we have in our current strategic plan. We have our mission and our values, which are our foundations. So under the last strategic plan, we did make some minor adjustments to our mission, and we adopted the acronym ACCESS for our values. Those have been resonating really well with all of us and our staff. They've really been baked into our branding recently. And then we also set a vision. And so you'll see the visions up there in the top right. So our goal is going to be to fill in everything that gets us from that foundation up to that vision. We also did rewrite the vision under the last strategic plan. So the very first thing that we have to do during strategic planning is review mission, vision, and values and decide, do these still have life in them? Would we like to move forward with them? Or would we want to refresh or revamp in some way? And then we have to fill in everything in between. So we have our priorities, which are our pillars, those areas of focus in the community. We have content required by Indiana State Code, such as statements about partnership and professional development. Then we have goals, which are essentially us describing where we want to be at the end of the strategic plan, and that tends to be heavily informed by the community, so we see a lot of community engagement around that. And then we have the things in red, which are the implementation, which is you all have finished your work, you hand it to the CEO, and he gets the task of turning it into reality. Now, this is a kind of an abstract way of thinking about this. I'm going to show you a confusing diagram and then a simple diagram to make sense of these two things. This is sort of a rough mapping of all the people who are going to need to be involved in planning the strategic plan. If we follow the structure similar to what we did last time, the board will form a committee of 3 members. They will meet approximately monthly from now until about August of next year. There would be a community steering committee that would be heavily involved while we're writing the goals. And then the executive leadership team would be sort of working both with the community committee and the board of trustees throughout the process. And then we'd have a staff strategic plan committee, which the executive leadership team usually leads. And we're suggesting that John Helling, our director of public service, serve as chair of this time. And they basically take everything that we hear from the board, from the executive leadership team, and from the community, and they say, how do we make this idea make sense in the context of operations? So they're crucial, but they tend to be receiving the vision, receiving the content, and then turning it into operations rather than directly involved. And then over on the left-hand side, you'll see I'm off to the side as coordinator. I basically make sure everybody has the same information and is communicating and reaching deliverables on time. Now, again, I understand this diagram's a little bit convoluted. If you want to map this onto how the strategic plan is actually developed, this diagram is what we used last time and hasn't changed much. The framework of the plan, the mission, the vision, the values, those are set by the board in collaboration with the executive leadership team and the CEO. The priorities, you start to involve staff more and start talking about what needs are you seeing in the community. When you get down to goals, that's where you really start to engage the community heavily, and you'd engage your community steering committee. And then from there, you start to get into those objectives, into those operations. Those are heavily informed by the community as well, but mostly driven by staff. And at that point, you're getting into operations. So we tend to hand over the drafting of those over to the CEO. So this is the structure that we're hoping to use to develop the long-range plan of services. And you have the option again of choosing between 3 to 5 years. So one of the things that we'll want to think about is, do we want to continue with a 3-year plan, or would it make sense because of a variety of factors to consider a 4-year or a 5-year plan? So all of those discussions need to happen in a committee. So I'll be asking that our board president make a recommendation for a committee to form. And then the timeline I have here was based off of us talking to you in May. So I think probably it makes maybe more sense to have that committee begin its communications and meeting probably in August. And that shouldn't throw anything off. The big conversations around what we want to do really start in November. The early conversations this year are around how to engage the community. Again, things like mission, vision, values, what sort of refresh might we want to do. And then the real work begins January, February, and March. That's where we pull in the community committee and start talking about those goals. One thing that's different this time than last time is we're proposing that the community committee end in a joint meeting with the board, where you work together to talk about impact and capabilities of the library, along with the executive leadership team. And that would sort of wind down that community's commitment and then hand over to the staff to turn it into operations, into communicatable language with our comms department and so on. And so then later in next year, May through August, it's really that drafting, that refining, bringing back to you, getting that final input with the goal of having a design and adopted plan for August, which would be in time for presenting the budget and so on to community and city county council. So that's the meat of what I have to present to you today. There's additional information in your packet if you want to think about the various phases. They're pretty much color-coded, similar to this diagram. We're currently in phase 1. You know, when you get to phase 4, you start to see things in red. So I'd just like to open it up to all of you for questions or feedback or comments before we dive into the real work of this.
Any questions?
I had one question. I couldn't remember, and it's just chalk it up to so much was going on. What consultants did we use in the past as we were doing the work of really getting that kind of expert support of the work? I don't recall that.
So it's varied. The last strategic plan, we had a consultant who engaged for community outreach, and then we didn't have a consultant to lead like community conversations. The one before that, there was an attempt to engage a consultant that was during pandemic era. And again, eventually they ended up helping with community outreach in the survey, but didn't do much more beyond that. And then the one before that, it was I think, pretty much heavily led by a consultant because it had many subcommittees for the community groups. So there's been a range in the past. This time around, we did set aside a consultant budget this year and next year that we can focus in where we think that there's need. For this year, I was proposing that we think about using that funding to reach communities that we struggle to reach. So individuals who may speak another language, teens where we know it's harder to break into their social group, thinking about really focusing in on where can we use that to reach people who we're not going to reach through our outreach in the branches. And then next year, if there was still more work to do in that area, we would focus the budget on that at the beginning of the year. And if not, we might consider using them as scribes or people to be in that big community meeting to make sure that people who are brainstorming can focus on the work rather than having to take notes and so on. But we definitely have some flexibility there. In total for this year and next year, I think there's about $50,000 per year that we could potentially use. That sounds like a lot, but if you think about focus groups, yep, that's only going to give you a certain amount. So we are depending on myself, our public service staff, and then John and his folks to really lean in and help us do some work for that community outreach and feedback. That worked well for us under the last strategic plan. It worked well for us in the one before. So I think that that's a model that we'd like to continue to use. When other community organizations make their plans, the first place they turn is to the library because we have folks who are deeply embedded in the community. That's unusual. So it's really about finding out where we have those blind spots, figuring out where we have maybe a bias or a misunderstanding, and trying to connect with individuals who can help correct those.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, if there are no further questions, then that concludes the CEO's report.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, no unfinished business, no new business. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Future agenda items. This time is made available for discussions of items not on the agenda, which are of interest to library board members, and the opportunity is given to suggest items to be included on future library board meeting agendas. Do any board members have something to suggest for the July 2026 board meeting? Oh, please.
Not necessarily for July, so I want to be very careful.
Mhm.
We received a lot of feedback today. I want to be sure that the board has an opportunity to digest that feedback and that we actually come back. I think we are doing the work that has been expressed today, but it is not, number one, an agenda topic or ready for public presentation, nor maybe does it fall within our purview. But I do think it's important for us to acknowledge what we've heard and to demonstrate that these conversations do not, number one, fall on deaf ears, and two, that we have proactively been having these conversations. So wherever that fits in this year is what I'm asking.
Great. Thank you.
Simply like to second that comment only because it displays transparency amongst how we move within the board. And I think that that's definitely something that's worth demonstrating.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Dr. Palacio?
Thank you. So I echo that, and I wanted to get this conversation started during committee, but I agree that maybe we need to find what the actual mechanics of that is. I don't know what the mechanics of those conversations are, but I'm always wanting to listen, and I'm glad others are as well. So I'm glad that's moving. Separate point, this is just general for Mr. Parson. If there's opportunity to bring pictures to the text that will illustrate the project, that would be great. Sometimes I can't picture the stairs or, the conditions of a certain project, and I know you bring pictures sometimes, but I do like to see more pictures. Just yeah, brings a good visual of the project we're talking about.
All right. Pictures, got it.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yep.
No? Okay, all right. The next meeting of the library board will be July 27th, 2026 at the East Washington Branch Library, 2022 East Washington Street at 6:30 PM. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.